Hey everyone, this is Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Today I want to show you how to do a strut job on a 2004 Runner. It's going to be a pretty straightforward job. The first thing you want to do is, of course, jack up your vehicle. Make sure it's securely supported on jack stands and take off your tire. Now you can check, for wear items also by grabbing your rotor and pushing at the 12 and 6 o'clock position, and then at the 3 and 6 o'clock, or sorry, the 9 and the 3 o'clock position. Just go back and forth with that, see if you have any movement. And if you have any movement, that's when you want to check your different bushings, your different ball joints, and just see where that play is coming from. Yeah, but this is pretty solid. Today, like I said, I'm going to show you how to do the front struts, and as you can see, these Bilsteins are leaking, and I'm going to go ahead and replace them with the 5100 series that has the right height adjustable. So I am going to take out the 2-inch pre-coil spacer here and make this just one piece, just the coil. I am going to replace the coils. I'm going to replace the strut mount up at the top, and I'm going to put a whole new strut in here. So the first step would be to go ahead and take off the bottom bolt here, and then take these off here, just loosen them up. You're going to use a 19 millimeter on the bottom to get this bolt out, and then you're going to use a 14 millimeter to take these bolts out on the top. And don't take all three of them off. I left one on, and I did have trouble with the bottom bolt, so what I ended up doing is using a 6-inch extension. This is a 3/8. I put it underneath the strut or the shock, lifted up on it to relieve some of the tension, and then I was able to get that bolt out. I just pulled it right out. So now the next step will be to loosen this up and then go ahead and take your strut mount assembly off. Okay, there's a few things I wanted to go over here. I've got this off the vehicle, and as you can see, this one's okay, but the passenger side is the one that was leaking out the seal. And so now what came stock with the Toyota 4Runner was the 15-inch rims and tires. So when I ordered the 16, because that's what I have on there now, is a 16-inch, these stock, actually these are Moog. These are Moog springs, and they're a little bit taller, as you can see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take out my 2-inch spacer kit right here, and I've already done this on the passenger side, and so for the driver's side it's going to be about the same height, because actually, like I said, these are for 16-inch tires, and there's about 2 inches more space at the top, or 2 inches more of coil. As you can see, this is what came out of the vehicle, and this is what I'm going to put in. So now with the Bilstein's 5100 series, they are adjustable, but I'm going to leave it at the very bottom ring. And because, like I said, I did it on the passenger side, and it came out great, just as if the 2-inch spacer was on there. So another thing you want to keep in mind, your coils are sometimes labeled. This one is labeled driver's side, and you want the small end going down, and the more well, I guess it's not really flat, but the fatter end up at the top by your mount. And then I did buy some different mounts, strut mounts. Now these are actually not countersunk as much, but because, you know, once you compress these, you're still able to put that rubber big fat washer on there, the convex metal washer, and then of course the locking nut afterwards. The first thing you want to do is get a spring compressor and go ahead and stick these in at the top and at the bottom, and you want to do these about 180 degrees apart. Now I'm missing my safety pins, but it's a good idea to use your safety pins if you have them. I am going to have to reuse this rubber washer and the metal washer up at the top here, and the metal washer underneath. So that's why I need to take this one off before I assemble the new one. I like to use the power tools just to get this started. And then I went ahead and put some silicone spray on this earlier, just to make sure it moves smoothly. Okay, and then you just want to rotate in a clockwise direction, and go ahead and just compress the spring. So what you'll do is just alternate. Do a couple turns on one, do a couple turns on the other, and go back and forth until the top strut mount is able to move a little bit. Once you're able to turn your strut mount a little bit, you want to go ahead and take, I went ahead and sprayed this with some PB Blaster. You want to take a 7mm, and then you can do this with the closed end or the open end of a 19mm. Go ahead and just opening it up. And then you want to make note of the position of your spring in relation to how you took it off. So say like for mine, this was near the front of the vehicle, or as you looked at it from front to back, you could see this. So when you line it up with the new one, you just want to make sure that this lines up, because sometimes this can hit suspension parts. You know, part of the coil can hit some of your suspension parts. And then also, you want to try to line up these two, your top mounting bolts. You want to line those up as much as possible. But if you don't, you can put an extension down in here, maybe a 6-inch extension, and just twist it a little bit, and you're able to line this up with the bottom mounting hole. Okay, so there's the metal washer. There's the rubber washer. The strut mount, the original, of course. Here's that 2-inch spacer. And then here's the metal washer and the rubber washer there. So what you want to do next is go ahead and loosen each one of these a little bit at a time until all the pressure's off. And once you get that spring all the way decompressed, you want to go ahead and compress your new spring. And it doesn't really matter too much on which coils you go around. You just want to try to go around the farthest that you can. And the best way to do that is just to take it all the way apart. Take your spring compressor all the way apart. That way you're able to fit these into the coils and try to do them at 180 degrees apart. And then you can start compressing it. Now, once you get it down to the right height, you can check that by putting on your strut mount onto the top of your coil, positioning your strut, and then make sure your rubber washer and your metal washer can fit on there, and that you have just enough thread to get it started. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and assemble it. And then, like I said, just make sure of your positioning. If you're doing the 5100 series, make sure your cup is down like this, not up like that. I made that mistake on the other one. So, and then if you want your ride height a little bit higher, that's what these grooves are for. You can move your C-clip up 1, 2, 3, so you have 4 different positions if you want your ride height a little bit higher. But like I said, I've got a bigger coil on this now, so I'm able to take my 2-inch spacer off and I'll get about the same ride height. I've got the boot. I've got the concave type washer, or convex, but go ahead and turn it upside down. And then the boot, or the rubber boot here on the bottom here, or the rubber washer on the mount, will push into that. So we go ahead and put that on there. And then you want to make sure that these are lined up the way you want them to be lined up. So for my installation, I want these like front to back, front to back. That's the way I'm looking at it. And so these 2 mounting bolts are going to line up for the strut plate. Go ahead and put your washer on, rubber washer, metal washer, and then go ahead and use a new, take your 7mm, and just tighten this up a little bit, and you can torque it once you get back into the vehicle. Once you get this back into the vehicle, you can torque it. Alright, then you can loosen up your spring compressor and get it ready to go back in the vehicle. And once you get your holes lined up and you get the top strut plate in, you can go ahead and line up the bottom. And the best way to do that is, like I said, just grab a screwdriver or an extension, and don't tighten up these bolts all the way. You want them loose, that way this has a little bit of movement. And then just go ahead and turn it like that until it's pretty well lined up. And then just push it back in there. And you may need to push down your lower A-arm or your top A-arm. To get this bottom bolt in, if you have an old bottle jack laying around, and an old shirt just to protect your A-arm. All you need to do is stick it in between here, and on the other side I put a small little wooden block up here, but in this one it didn't fit. So just be careful, and then when you're trying to get the bolt in, just remember you got a bottle jack over your head, and that'll help push your A-arm and your steering knuckle and everything down. That way your mount on the bottom can line up and you can get your bolt in. So that's one way to do it. Now you may need a crow's foot when you start torquing all these bolts. I had a really hard time getting to this back bolt right here. I wasn't able to get a wobbly or a crow's foot back in there, so I ended up just tightening it. But for the center bolt, I went ahead and used a crow's foot and then the 7mm on top. And your torques may be different, but I went ahead and torqued this to 22 foot-pounds. I torqued these to 47 foot-pounds, and then I went ahead and torqued this to 101 foot-pounds, and that's your bottom bolt for your strut or your bottom nut, and then 83 foot-pounds on the lug nuts once I get those back on. So I hope this has been helpful. Good luck on your next home or automotive project, and thanks for watching.